Algebra 2B. I'm trying to record this. Algebra 2B, Unit 7, the Thursday, February the 9th. All right. I'm gonna rewrite my problem on another page so I can have enough space. Let's see. It's a 2 and a 3 both negative. 2 and a 3 both negative. 2 and a 3 both negative. Step 1, go ahead and write down your ABC.
I thought you were doing 22.
Is this 22?
No.
82.
I don't know.
What's up, 82? I don't know.
I thought we were on the packet.
So right now you're going to use this page here. We're going to do 22. I wrote down the wrong problem, so let me rewrite that. Both 3's, 1 negative, 1 positive. One negative, 1 positive. Write down your ABC.
What is the ABCs again?
That's what we're about to show. So if you remember, you can look at the examples you have on your page. If you don't have them, you can just watch along with this one. This is just a reminder. So we'll do 1, we'll ask questions on it. Do 2, and then go from there. So again, in this one, we need our A, our B, and our C. Someone tell me what A will be in this problem. 1. Say it again. Okay. 1 is correct. It's the number in front of. Someone different, what B is going to be?
Negative 3.
Negative 3. Very nice. No big deal. And then C? Okay, just a regular 3. So again, these are no big deal. On the test, it actually has the formula for you, so you don't have to memorize it. But if you did, there was a bad boy. He wasn't quite sure whether he go to this house party. When he got there, he found out because there's so many drugs that he turned out to be a square.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But because he was a square, he missed out on 4 awesome chicks. The good news is that the party was all over at 2 a.m.
Oh,
So, all right, here we go. So we're gonna go ahead. Give me a moment. We're gonna go ahead and put in. When you do the problem, because some of you are gonna miss it, one sign's gonna be off, one number's gonna be off. Put in all the parentheses, please. In other words, rewrite it this way. And then I think Anna had a hand. Say it again. Oh yeah. So there was a bad boy. He wasn't sure, it was positive, negative, whether he'd go to the house party. Once he got there, so much drugs. Turns out he was a square, as in not cool. So he missed out on 4 awesome chicks, and the party was all over. Do me a favor. If you mess up, if you put in the numbers where they go, at least I can circle like, oh, this is where your error was, so that you don't have to redo the whole thing. There will be 3 of these on the assessment today, which is kind of unfortunate because, again, it's the same thing 3 times. So either you'll get all 3 right because you're doing the same thing 3 times, or you'll miss all 3 of them because you're going to make the same mistake each time. Nonetheless, go ahead and put in the numbers where they go. We'll solve this one, and that will be it. And again, just so you know what you're solving here, what you're actually getting here is when we get our zeros from the picture, this is getting us the actual zeros. When the problem is weird and we don't have a computer to just type it in and see the lines where they go, this just gives us our zeros. I'm going to start putting mine in where they go. Just say there's a B. So you're just writing what's on the board. Go down to the next line. Go down to the next line.
Oh, never mind.
The next line, I'm gonna get somebody to help me on the next line.
Tom, you put it for Thomas.
What do you see? What do you see?
Oh, never mind.
Take a look.
To 5 and C.
All right. Next line. What is this negative 3 going to become? On under the house is negative 3. What is it going to become? And negative 4 times 1 times 3? It has to be a negative 12. Matter of fact, and then the bottom, of course, 2a is just 2. So far, so good. Next row, even though I'll keep bringing it down. 9 minus 12, that's the big deal. What is that going to give us? Negative 3, thank you. There's one more line, the most important line. As a matter of fact, let me make this thing red so you know where the most important part of the problem is. Alert. Mayday. Recording? I don't think so. I am. Alright, that next line. What am I going to put for the negative, radical negative on the next line? This is the most important part right here.
3i.
3i is it?
I do approve.
Radical 3i or just a regular 3i?
Radical.
I got it.
Regular.
What's going on? Someone help her out. Well, let me
It's
help.
a radical 3i, but it's not negative.
This is the most important part right here.
That was the worst thing.
The negative sign inside of the radical.
Wait, why'd you bring the 2 up? No, it's a different problem.
Yes, the problem.
So,
Well, let me put the whole thing that way.
oh, it's just an example?
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's the final answer, but take a look at it. The most important part is if there's a minus sign.
What is that?
It's supposed to be an I. It looks like a 2, but it's an I, isn't it? Alright, let's see if we can fix that. That is the point of the entire problem, the I is. That is, your job is to know if there's a negative sign inside of a radical, then it comes out as an I. Take a look, see if you have a question. Let's imagine I wound up with this radical 3 on this line here. This would be the answer. You'd be stuck here.
Wait, no.
There's nothing else you can do right here. Any other question? This answer here represents 2 x's. That's what the point represents. So the first root, and their imaginary roots, or complex roots, is 3 plus I radical 3 over 2, comma 0. The way we normally write, let's say it was, you know how we said something like that, and then the other root is sort of like something like that. This is a big ugly version, but we could write out all of this stuff. I'm going to erase the stuff. We could write out all this stuff. So the first root would be 3 plus I radical 3, comma 0. The second would be all of this, but with a minus sign, 3 and minus that. And where it shows in the picture is kind of weird, but that's what that is. Any other questions? Any other questions before I leave this? For those, you're going to write this whole thing if you're writing in there with just the plus sign for the first x, and then you write this whole thing the second time just for minus. So again, we did 3 of the samples. We're doing 1 and 3 a day. So we did 1, 4, and 5. I mean 2, 4, and 5. We're going to do 1. Any other questions before I leave this?
No, you're the worst to have in class. Keep talking, right?
I don't know if it will always be that. That is, when you work this out, the main thing you're checking for is, when I get to this stage where it's just one number in here, If that one number turns out to be a negative, then you are right. The next line will always have an I on the outside, and the positive version.
You're like.
If you got down to this stage and you just had a positive, then you are done. There's nothing extra. Any other questions before I leave this one? This is standard 3. Standard 3. All right, here we go. Let's go on to standard 1. Go to page 82 on your handout. Page 82.
What?
Highlight blood pressure because whatever problem they give you, they're gonna try to describe what it is. And because the 2 questions they're gonna ask you, depending on what it is, you'll have to do that. So here we go. Shows how the blood pressure of the average human rises over their lifespan. So we want rises, highlight that, and the lifespan. So here's what you need. If this picture is talking about blood pressure and how it rises over time, here's the part you need to know. This bottom line is the most important. There are going to be 2 questions that connect to this bottom line. On any graph, the bottom line is what we're going to call the x-axis. What's the name of that? And the x-axis is always called the domain. So put domain under there. Well, let me actually put domain right under years. I should have put x years as well. And the other word for domain is with the letter I. And that's going to be input.
I.
So each one of those names they're going to use. Each one of those names they're going to use. To find the domain, what they're going to basically are asking you is, where does this graph begin? And by graph, with your highlighter, please highlight the graph.
The entire thing.
Highlight the graph, please.
He said you are.
Basically, what they're going to ask you in math talk is, this graph that we just highlighted, the graph that we just highlighted, where does it begin on the x-axis? In other words, right here at 0. And where does it end on the x-axis? The top is at the x-axis. In other words, if you highlight this bottom line right here, when they ask you for the domain, what they're saying is, if this thing was outside and the sun was above it, where would it cast a shadow on the ground? It would cast a shadow beginning right here, and then it would end right there.
Yeah, not just 0.
So if you're putting the domain for this one, you would put in brackets 0, and then it goes all the way to 100. If it started, I'll do a green version of it, just to make a point. Let's imagine the picture actually started right here. And let's make it end right here so it can be easy. So your domain exactly would just be exactly where the picture begins and where it ends on the x-axis, where the shadow is cast on the ground. Now the second one, I don't necessarily need you to write, but I just want to highlight that if, again, 20 to 80, say it again. It's all on the x. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Oh, it's the domain.
Right. Because you're talking about the domain, these brackets don't mean the same thing that they would normally mean if they were parentheses. So for this domain, as a matter of fact, let's do this. For the domain, do me a favor, put the letter D, colon, then 0 to 100. That way it's not confused with, is it X, comma, Y. So I know what you're saying, but it's different that way. Pause. Any questions on the domain?
No.
That's the first of the 2 easy ones. All right, let's see if we get the second easy one. All right, second easy one. Let me erase some stuff. Please, on the left side, we're going to write the word output. Output. For the y, we're going to put output. We're going to put range. So no matter which word they use, you'll get it. So write down output. Some of you are starting to write that very good. Others are waiting. Try and write that down. Try and write it down. Try and write it down. Try and write it down. All right, let's give tables a question. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I will do 5. I'll do this one. All right, this table here, you all are going to be 20. Back row, which table you guys are going to be 60. Back there, you all will be 80. And right here, you'll be the input 100. So here's the second easy question I'm going to ask you. The second easy question is going to be this. With your given input, what would the output be? In other words, how do these bottom numbers here relate to the side numbers here? Here comes the answer. The instruction look here says this graph shows the blood pressure of the average human rising over their lifespan. Comes up right there. But basically what it's saying is this. Hey Thomas, at age 40, what can you tell me about the rate of rise of their blood pressure? And mm over that is millimeters per year. My answer would be this. When this person is 40, his rate of rise is going to be a little over, I'm going to say a little over 2, or at 2.1. So if I write kind of what Richard was saying earlier, the partner for 40, is 2.1. But the question is, like, what is it that you're telling me? You're telling me that based on their age, and let me see if I can write this up, because they're going to ask you to explain the relationship. See what they're doing? No, that's the third hard question. So the second question, explain, and you can write this down, explain relationship of the input and output. So the question is, what is it that they're trying to figure out if you're able to understand the chart that you're even looking at. Like, when I see these numbers, like, what are they even telling me? So for now, for this first one, I'll do them and ask for everyone says it will generalize kind of what it is. So for my first one, it was at age 40. The rate of rise.
Can we just say it's greater than 2, Thomas? Or is that not precise enough? Can we say it's like greater than 2, less than 3?
You could, or you just kind of. All right, write that down. Write that down.
But I feel like ambiguity suits me. I'm supposed to.
All right, those who have 20, what's the way to say what's happening at 20?
So, at the age of 20, the rate of rise of blood pressure is going to be greater than 2, less than 5.
Right.
Ambiguity.
No, it's not. No.
It's not exactly.
A little bit higher. It's almost at 9.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, it is the same. Take a look at that. It is the same. Look at that.
Or we could just say greater than 2, less than 2.5.
We should just look at it.
You
So
could just
for
say
20,
Thomas, yours is actually a bit higher. That's 40. Yours is a bit higher. Look at that.
For 20, I'm also going to put down 2.1. If yours is close, I'll take that. All right, back table, 60, Richard and Marcos. At 60, what's the relationship? Say it again. Yeah, we'll take the 0.8.
1%.
Table back here with the 80, what's your relationship?
80 and 1.9.
I said 1.8.
I said 1.5.
Take either one.
See, this is why the ambiguity is great.
I say 2 words.
What do you say to your words? What?
No, because
Ambiguity.
We're looking at the numbers here on the side.
I make sure you're right.
If you think combining,
don't write that.
Instead of 40,
instead of 60, that's like.
Why are you so confident in these words? I mean, how high are they?
I didn't get that high.
Or is it?
I was just like, I got a 12.
Isn't it like
41.2? I got okay.
all right,
That's the red star.
did I write down 80 and 100? What do you got that 100 right here up front?
3.
Oh, yours is the easy one. Hopefully you get
Tried really hard.
hopefully you get an easy one like the 100 where it's an actual number. This is the second easy question. Just what's the relationship? The years tell you how much it rises.
I'm trying to button it.
So again, if they ask for general,
Alright. What did I just say?
Sorry.
Alright.
I'm not gonna talk for like an hour.
Alright.
It's really happening right now.
So are we gonna bet money on how long it works?
She's gonna talk. She's not gonna talk for an hour.
How much you
I'm
bet?
so embarrassed.
Let's take bets on how long it takes.
Close down bet.
5 minutes.
No, that didn't even last. She said I'm so embarrassed. She was still talking. She was gonna talk for a whole hour. She was still talking.
I'll give it.
write that down. Write that down.
Give me 30 seconds.
We have all the examples, but if they want not just example, but what is actually happening, it's this last line that you're writing down for your second easy question.
I'm worried for your shirt, pajama shirt. I like that. It's my
After you give your examples, they may ask you, so what is it that all the examples are telling you? Oh, it's telling you the number of years, tells how the blood pressure.
What goes down?
Sounds kinky.
You look like the main character for the boy that starts.
All right, last one. The tough question. Oh,
Did you?
here you go.
When did you make that joke?
Like 3 seconds ago.
Really?
To kind of get you this answer. The answer for this will be numbers outside of 0 and 100 are not in the domain. In other words, they didn't give you anything before 0, so that's not the domain. No negative numbers in this case. They didn't give you anything beyond the 100. Even though the graph probably goes on, but they didn't give it to you. So any numbers above 100 are not in the domain. And so when you explain that, basically you don't know what happened before 0 years, which doesn't even make any sense. And you don't know what happened when they turned 101. You don't know what happened.
We all know what happened.
So again, for this I would say was not given.
Their blood pressure.
So if I put here,
No, Jose, Nana went to the farm. It's not dead.
here we go. I don't have space here. I'm going to erase some of this. And you, I don't know where you're going to write yours, where they have.
We are.
Can I see this?
So let's see if I can write this. Numbers not included.
No, I got that glaucoma and
Oh, thank you.
Hey, dude, something like.
You feel the dust? It feels so good.
What's not in the domain?
anything that's not 0 or 100.
Numbers smaller than 0 or bigger than 100.
Yes. Or less than 0, greater than 100.
Beach boy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you're doing.
I'll do it the right way for students.
What is up with your line? What is, I mean, Nothing much. It's basically like
Write that down. Write that down. And to actually explain why, I will just take not given in graph.
I mean, you could
There's
just make
probably
the
a
argument.
deeper answer than that, but not given in graph.
You could just make the argument that in the context of what x is, what it represents for the average lifespan of the lifespan of a human, there is no human that's like less than 0 that's
Yeah, there is. Right.
I mean, unless you want to count fetuses.
Right. That makes sense. We're on to making a good point. If you can explain what it actually means to be less than 0 years old, you can explain why a negative number wouldn't be part of the domain.
How come babies are 9 months old when they're born?
They're not.
Because you can't be negative 8.
Let's just call it
Right. It can't be negative 8.
Then they, how come they're 9 months old? Developing 9 months.
Open up your computers. Last part before you give you your test. Open up computers. No, that's fine. All right. I typed it in to decimals. My picture.
I feel like Razi would do that. No, I know why.
Say it again?
Every time you go to the bathroom.
No, only the function. That other part can be something else. You are correct. You're not going to type that in. You should have the picture I have up. Let's see what you got. It's a terrible picture. As a matter of fact, it's going to make things trickier than I want to be. Better when you have yourself clicked on there.
It's not showing you picture. This?
Do me
My love
a favor. Write down what your zeros are on this one.
I'm gonna.
Yes. Like we did before. That's all this one's going to be helpful for.
I'm reading, dude. Oh.
Please write down your degree. Write down the orientation. Solution. This is an ugly one, but because I'm decimals, for those who weren't here last time, this is what we did on the assessment on 2 and 4. Put down the zeros, also called the. It's a weird problem, but go ahead and try to put these things down.
Parentheses. Go.
Then your zeros, your y-intercept, and behavior. This problem is actually for something else, but I'm happy to do this. It's a trick question, by the way.
It's just gonna be.
Alright, hold on. I can't hear for those who are talking. Alright, go ahead again.
The domain.
Domain.
It's gonna be open parentheses, and it's gonna be a positive infinity for the, or no, negative infinity and positive.
That is a good guess. If you're looking at the picture itself, that would probably be it. But it turns out they're offering you the domain in the actual problem, because they only want you to look at part of it. What part of it do you think they want you to look at? There are two numbers up there. Yeah. So essentially, here's what they're asking you to do, which is a weird problem. They kind of want you to look at it from -3 to +3. So the domain for this problem is actually D for domain. Please write down the domain.
Oh, because like the lines will never pass those.
Right, because what they're saying to you in math talk is, hey, look at this picture between these two numbers. So write that down, the actual domain. This is part B of unit of a standard one. You don't need this one. That first one that we did, that's the main one you need. Next question. Next question they should have on here is, graphing it, we did that.
But it does go past your domain.
No, I'm saying, for the purposes of what they're saying here,
Oh.
they're saying,
not according to how.
right. So the picture actually goes past, yes, but because they said look at just this part of the picture, My job is to have you know when a problem is written like this, what you're being asked to do is to look at the picture just between the negative 3 and the positive 3, and that happens to be called the domain. Okay. They're going to ask the question, are there any numbers that are not in the domain? You would say any number that's smaller than 3 or larger than positive 3. And they would say, well, why? These are the ones they want to look at. So not domain, here it comes. Not in domain. Again, if you got that first one, the one with the blood pressure, you don't need this second one. I'm just putting this out there just in case someone messes around with this as part B. Not in domain. Smaller, less than, negative 3. Alright, about 5 minutes we need to get you on your test.
My wish, but it's his wish. Just make a wish.
Write that down, write that down.
How am I gonna wish it?
If this one is tricky for you,
What is it?
don't worry about it. You don't necessarily need this one.
It's how to be American. How to be
The last question I'm going to ask you is, hey, what does the input and output mean here? In this case, the input is the ground. The output is how high up you are on the roller coaster. If you read the problem above, with a highlighter, please go ahead and mark roller coaster. You have to read the title. So when they ask, okay, so what is the input and output? It connects with whatever the title was. Is it a roller coaster? Is it blood pressure? All right, so here comes input, output.
Wait, sorry. Is the output kind of like the
Not in this case. This output is how high you are on the roller coaster. So if you're on the ground, that's input. You're walking across this line. The input. The output is going to be how high up you are on the roller coaster. All right, write it down, write it down. Input in this last one is where you're walking on the ground. The output is how high are you on the roller coaster. I didn't recognize the picture was as ugly as it is.
Jacob.